Ritaraga Bhayatyodha Manmaya Mam Upasthita Ahavo Jnana Tapasa Bhutamad Bhavan Agata. Being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me.
As in the present time, in the past also, many persons gained liberation by knowing the eternal nature of my birth and activities. The Lord speaks to confirm the eternal nature of his birth and activity. So this knowledge, as stated here, by knowing about the transcendental nature of my birth and activity, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, he becomes free from the cycle of birth and death. Now, in text 10, he's pointing out that in the past also, there were many who had attained this liberation. So it is not something unprecedented that Krishna is talking about. Okay, can someone read Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Just for translation.
People bewildered about the spiritual nature and the purity of my birth, actions, and body are motivated by three tendencies: attachment, fear, and anger. Those whose intelligence is extremely bound by matter and they manifest attachment to matter to the extent that they do not accept that there is any eternal entity called a spiritual tattva. They say that nature, Swabhav, is the supreme tattva. Among them, some point out matter alone as the eternal cause, which manifests the spiritual tattva. All materialists, Swabhavavadis and Vidhivadis, devoid of consciousness, pushed by attachment, are consequently cheated from a spiritual attachment to the supreme tattva in every work. Some deliberators accept the spiritual tattva as an eternal entity, but having given up natural knowledge, always take shelter of logic. Carefully rejecting all types of gunas and actions in matter as being temporary, they manufacture some indescribable Brahman imagined as the opposite of matter. It is nothing other than this. It is only an opposite manifestation of my Maya. It is not my eternal Swarup. With fear that they will take shelter of material dharma in meditating on me, they develop distaste for meditating on my Swarup and the worship of my Swarup. Because of this fear, they are cheated of the Swarup of the Supreme Tattva. Some people, unable to determine anything beyond matter, determine void and nirvana as the Supreme Tattva in a heart overwhelmed by anger. Buddhism and Jainism philosophies come from this. Becoming free of attachment, fear, and anger of this type, seeing me everywhere and taking complete shelter of me, accepting the previously mentioned knowledge, purifying themselves by the austerity of tolerating the poison of bad logic previously described, many people attained pure prema for me. Rejecting attachment, fear, and anger of this type, seeing me everywhere and taking complete shelter of me, purifying themselves by the austerity in the form of knowledge related to me, and practice of that, many people attain pure prema for me.
Because this knowledge of my eternal birth and activities arises only by analysis of the difficult Shruti passages, it is called an austerity. Or austerity can refer to the suffering arising in removal of the bad arguments and opposing ideas. In other words, if one wants to progress in Krishna consciousness, he has to become free from various philosophical misconceptions. I had we should print that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's list of anarthas. That will be very useful. Tattva Brahma. philosophical misconceptions. That's the first set of unearthings. It is very important that we free ourselves from this. Being purified by that removal of bad ideas, cleansed of ignorance, many persons attain prema for me, or attained existence with me, direct association with me. What type of people were these persons, and given up attraction to, fear of, and hatred of those persons who oppose the eternality of the Lord's birth? And because they were completely engaged in serving me with faith in me alone. So these three are problems: raga, bhaya, krodha. Look at the first word, vitaraga, bhaya, krodha. Freed from attachment, fear, and anger. Attachment refers to materialistic attachment. Fear refers to fear of a supreme person. Krodha, anger, refers to frustration. Frustration is born from anger. So Prabhupada has summarized. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause. And some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. Three groups. People under the sway of raga, people under the sway of bhaya, people under the sway of krodha, anger. This last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their affective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision by them. One has to get rid of all three stages of attachment to the material world: negligence of spiritual life due to over materialism, fear of a spiritual personal identity, and the conception of void that arises from frustration in life. To get free from these three stages of the material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional life. So that takes some discipline. Even as Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan has noted, the analysis of difficult Shruti passages is an austerity actually. To deal with the conceptions and understand it correctly, that is an austerity. The last stage of the devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of Godhead. According to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhi, the signs of devotional service, Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangotha Bhajana Kriya, Tato Narthan Nivrittisya, Tato Nishtha Ruchistata, Athasaktis, Tato Bhavas, Tata Prema Bhyudanchati, Sadhakanam Ayam Premana Pradur Bhave Bhavet Kramaha. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. Shraddha. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. Sadhu Sangha. In the next stage, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service, bhajana kriya. By the execution of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment, anartha-nivritti, attains steadiness and self-realization, nishtha, and acquires a taste for hearing about the absolute personality of God, ruchi. This taste leads one further forward to attachment for Krishna consciousness, asakti, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of Godhead. That bhava, that is mentioned here. Bhutamad bhava magata. They attain my bhava. Then, a real love for God is called prema, the highest perfection stage of life. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So, by the slow process of devotional service, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from all material attachment and from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality and from the frustrations that result in void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the abode of the Supreme Lord. Bhava Bhakti is explained in great detail by Bhakti Vinod Thakur in one book called Chaitanya Shikshamrita. The stages from Shraddha to Prema they are elaborated and clarified in a booklet called Madhurya Kadambini. They're all available. Important book. Prabhupada said that when you read it, you understand where you are in Krishna consciousness.
Slow.
Yeah.
Fast.
No, you can make it as slow as you want. You can make it as fast as you want. But for people who are obsessed with raga, bhaya, krodha, it will be slow only. By default, it is slow only. You can speed it up. You sign up for high bandwidth and you get it fast. But if you are, see, the vast majority, they go through track one, they're just slow. Because they, I want so many things. I want my body to be good. I want people to deal with me nicely. I want so many things which are related to this world. Whereas if you want to go fast, you have to learn to become nirapeksha, indifferent, be disciplined, fixed, focused, then it's fast. But otherwise, generally it is understood that most of the time we are committing offenses, sinful activity, forbidden activities. For them it is slow. Right now, at least talking about this Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha group, it's slow only. By default. Another point is we should learn to be patient also. You asked one question.
Yes, Prabhu. Difference between karma kanda and karma yoga.
Difference between karma yoga and karma kanda. Actually speaking, karma kanda refers to a portion of Vedic Shastra. Okay, but we generally refer to karma kanda as the teachings coming from that portion. It is just what is called sakama karma. Technically, sakama karma means you are engaged in karma, the same or minimal bhakti, Yeah, the first stage. But the only difference is they are not interested in progressing up to love of God. They have no desire. They just want to engage in this in order to attain the benefits of this karma, which come out in the next life. That's all. They don't want to attain the highest goal. So that group is called the Karma Kanda group. And the Vedas also initially, they promote all these ideas. Vedas don't start by saying everybody should go for liberation and all that. If you start saying these kind of things, then they'll run away. So the Vedas don't do that. That's why Traigunya Vishaya Veda. That is the reason why it is.
So is it same as Sakam Karma Yoga, Karma Kanda?
Sakam Karma. Same. Sakama Karma and Karma Kanda are identical.
Sakam karma yoga. The desire also to satisfy the senses, everything to be good, nice.
In that case, that would be track one.
But that desire has to be there. I have to be liberated. I have to serve God.
Yes, strictly speaking.
Yoga means.
No, see, yoga has got different senses. In one of the meanings of the word yoga is sadhana. Sadhana means a pursuit. So, Sakama Karma Yoga, in the sense of I just want to go to the heavenly planets. It is not yoga in the spiritual sense. The spiritual sense means you want to attain liberation. These people don't want liberation because it's too expensive. You need to become free from attraction, repulsions. You'll immediately say, what? I'm a robot or what? I have feelings. I want to enjoy life. And I want to enjoy life. Not only this life. I want to enjoy many, many lives.
But how they gradually develop the faith of coming to the stage to me? So they are
No. That group will not automatically get there. It is materialistic people. That's all. It's just subtle materialism, not gross materialism. Because they want to enjoy next life. They are like people who properly book the train ticket. No tatkal. book ahead. So they do everything carefully. They plan it out. They are planning out the next life in this life. They're just very sophisticated materialists. That's all. Unless they serve, unless they come in contact with the pure Vaishnavas or followers of pure Vaishnavas and become submissive. Like even if they get to serve some khichdi during Sunday feast, there's some possibility. Otherwise, no, what? Otherwise, it's just pious materialism. There is sinful materialism, there is sinless materialism. These are all sinless materialists, that's all. So they go to heavenly planets. They go to heavenly planets because it's just common sense. What are you going to do as a human being? You're useless, nasty, that one Kali Yuga, what? All the girls, they stink. This is how they think. What, this entire environment is very polluted. You don't know what is material life at all. So therefore, it's just like in India or people from third world countries, they want to go to first world country. So have a good time. So this is the ultimate going to the first world country. They want to go to bourgeoisie. This is materialism, that's sophisticated materialism.
That means Karma Yoga means satisfying the senses of Lord Vishnu and we have desires also there. Then how we
See, Prabhupada never uses the expression Sakama Karma Yoga. Prabhupada doesn't use this expression. So don't get confused by that. Okay. I don't use that expression also. Because immediately people become confused. How can it be Sakama and yoga? Because we are used to the word yoga as a spiritual discipline to attain liberation or something higher. So I don't use that combination. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur does use it, but he means by yoga just a sadhana, just a pathway. Okay. So when we translate from the acharyas, we use the same word that they're using with a different translation, we are using with a different translation, it will become confusion. So Sakama Karma simply means endeavoring to attain the unique material benefits coming from the Vedic system or Vedic culture. That's all. That's all. That's all. It is not spiritual at all. Whereas when we talk of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, these are all aiming at liberation or higher. So the Karma Yoga that we are talking of, that is, I may be standing on this platform, stage 1, but I am aiming at the highest stage, liberation. So because I am aiming at the highest, therefore I am considered to be on that platform, yoga, engaged in yoga. Otherwise, it is not spiritual yoga at all. Do we have that question in the question bank? Huh? The difference between Karma Yoga and Karma Kanda?
No, there's one question on there, similar to that. How like Lord Krishna explains Karma to and then how we contrast it
With Karma Yoga.
not Karma with other instructions.
Okay, let's move on. Text 11.
मां प्रपद्यन्ते तां तथैव भजाम्यहं मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha.
First, he is referring to Arjuna's thoughts. I have to some degree understood that you are the Supreme Lord with attractive eternal birth and activities. And I've heard from scriptures that you, though the size of a thumb, are indeed the Lord without birth. Therefore, you must have various forms, and there must be various methods of worshipping you. In response to that thought of Arjuna, Lord Krishna speaks this verse that Krishna can be worshipped in various forms because he does possess various forms. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, I respond to persons in the way that they surrender to me. Being the final goal of all philosophies, I am to be attained by all. Those who are pure devotees, always serving my Sachidananda form in the supreme abode, attain spiritual bliss. I give nirvana liberation in the form of Nirvishesha Brahman to those who are impersonalists by destroying their Atma. Not accepting the eternal nature of my Sachidananda form, their Chidananda Swarup disappears. Among them, according to the fault of their faith, I give some temporary birth. Becoming void in nature, I make the existence of those who are void as full of void. I am attained as a material form by those who are dull, involved in material karma, or those who are proponents of material rules, giving them forms of consciousness almost like matter, covering their atmas. Those who are karmis attain me in the form of Ishvara, the Lord of Yajna, the giver of results of karma. To those who are yogis, I, in the form of Ishvara, give vibhutis, or impersonal liberation. In this way, being all swarupas means being the Brahman worshipped by the impersonalists, Paramatma worshipped by yogis, Bhagavan worshipped by him. I am attained by proponents of all philosophies. Among all attainments, you should know that attaining my service is the chief. All humans follow my various paths. Thus, all men follow various paths of attaining me. Actually, I, the form of Krishna, am the final attainment of them all. Worship of the Lord, meditating on the Paramatma of the signs of a thumb, Brahmajnana, worship of the Lord of Yajna are various paths to attain me. The fortunate, intelligent person attains my Swarup, the attainment, making the various types of worship the means. Those who become attached to those respective tattvas do not advance, have incomplete attainment. That is the deep meaning of the Lord's words. Can someone read out Prabhupada's purport?
Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence and as the all-pervading Supersoul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. One devotee may want Krishna as Supreme Master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally, according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feelings are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees, both here and in the transcendental abode, associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot release the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord, having extinguished their individuality. Some of them who are not firmly situated, even in the impersonal existence, return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. They are not admitted into the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. For those who are fruitive workers, the Lord awards the desired results of their prescribed duties as the Yagyeswara, and those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy only, and all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless therefore one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Kama sarva kama va moksha kama udarihi evrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation. One should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness.
So, everyone follows my path in all respects. The original statement is the second line. Mama Vartmanu Vartante Manushya Partha Sarvashaha. O son of Pritha, all men follow my path in all respects. So here all men refer to all men who accept Vedic authority and who are interested in transcendental realization. Not even transcendental. Anyone who accepts Vedic authority, they have to go for realizing something which is beyond protection, because even the heavenly planets are not manifested to our human senses. So even then, all those who are human beings, they follow my path. This is what Krishna is saying. It is understood that those who don't accept Vedic authority are subhuman. That is the idea. Human being means you accept Vedic authority. Manusya. Okay, text 12.
Yajanta iva devata Shipram hi manusya loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get result from fruitive work in this world.
Having spoken on a related but digressive topic, side topic, the Lord will now speak on the original topic, explaining how Nishkama Karma transforms into Jnana. In this verse, the Lord speaks about the rarity of such practitioners. In other words, even track 1 is rare. Most people don't go into track 1. But track 2 is even more rare. Track 3 is even more rare. So, the proper Vedic pathway, all the way up to its goal. Second pathway is the Pancharatri pathway. Third is the Bhagavata pathway. So even to go all the way to the final goal through the Vedas is very, very rare. In this world, living entities under the sway of beginningless impressions of enjoyment hanker for results to their actions in the form of domestic animals, sons, and other things. They worship devatas such as Indra, who can give temporary things in small quantity by actions filled with desire. By actions filled with desire means when we engage in prescribed activities and we have material desires, then these demigods, they provide that. They do not worship me, the master of those devatas, who can give eternal bliss by their performing desireless actions. Whereas if they worship me with the idea that I should attain liberation, see, the desire for liberation is always considered to be desirelessness, because you're not hankering for something which is commonly desired. In fact, you consider this could be an obstacle for the highest attainment. So they are considered to be nishkama. Nishkama means literally desireless. It's a fact that they may have some desire, but their desire also, so they will only accept material desires which don't prevent them. Any material desire that prevents them from attaining the highest goal, that they will not accept. So therefore, in track 1 also, therefore track 1 is rare. They want material happiness, definitely, while making spiritual progress. Limited, not unlimited. It is like saying, I want good food. First of all, I want nourishment. So, tasty food that does not contradict my goal of having a good health. Whereas somebody else may not even be interested in tasty food. That is even more advanced. So, track 2 and track 3, they are like that. Then track 1, they are interested in material happiness, but within limit. So they actually are worshipping the Supreme Lord and they want to attain the highest goal. Externally, they may be respecting all these demigods. In fact, in track 1, they worship the demigods as Vaishnavas. They honor the demigods all the way up to Lord Brahma as Vaishnavas. Track 2, track 3, they simply respect them as Vaishnavas. They don't worship them. They don't consider them, these are my gurus and all that. In track 1, they consider that Brahma is the highest guru. Should gradually move on. They act in this way because in this world of man, results of such actions come quickly. So why this Karmakanda group is there? Why they are not entering into the full track? Why they are doing the same activity, but why they are not going to the final goal? Because the results of such actions come quickly. The other result in the form of liberation from knowing me through worship by Nishkama Karma comes slowly. All men whose discrimination of temporary and eternal is eclipsed by desire for enjoyment and who want quick enjoyment worship my servants, the Devatas, for that purpose. And even the person who has attained discrimination of the temporary and is fearful of suffering in this world does not worship me, the master of Devatas, through Nishkama Karma in order to extinguish his suffering. In other words, such qualification for worship is very rare. Okay. Bhakti, can someone read this?
Answering Arjuna's question, the Lord, clearly explaining his Swarupa and related matters, again begins to teach deliberation on Karma Tattva, according to what was previously stated. O Arjuna, previously I said that if you clearly understand Karma Tattva, you become free of the bondage of karma. Previously I said that one should give up vikarma and akarma. Karmas should be accepted according to one's condition only. Karma is three types: Nitya, Naimittika, and Kamya. Kamya karma is better than vikarma and akarma. In order to fulfill karma, people having lost their discrimination by desires for enjoyment, desiring results, worship many devatas. By that, they quickly attain the result born of karma. Desiring progress on temporary samsara, people perform all karmas. The insignificant devatas, givers of the result of karmas, being satisfied by those karmas, quickly give results. I will tell you gradually who these devatas are.
So these devatas are distinguished from Krishna himself here. In other words, he points out that those who worship the devatas of this world, they attain one result. But those who worship me attain some other result. Krishna already pointed out that those who worship him, they attain liberation from the cycle of birth and rebirth. But here he's saying those who worship these devatas, they only attain material benefits. Actually, the demigods are not different forms of God, but they are God's different parts and parcels. God is one and the parts and parcels are many. Supreme God is one, Krishna, and the demigods are delegated with powers to manage this material world. These demigods are all living entities, Nityanam, with different grades of material power. This Nityanam is a reference to this Nityo Nityanam. Krishna is Nityaha, the devatas are referred to by Nityanam. They cannot be equal to the Supreme God, Narayana, Vishnu, or Krishna. Anyone who thinks that God and the demigods are on the same level is called an atheist or Pashandi. This is a paraphrase of a text from Padma Purana. In fact, the Lord is worshipped by demigods such as Brahma and Shiva, Shivaran Chinnuttam. Yet, curiously enough, there are many human leaders who are worshipped by foolish men under the misunderstanding of anthropomorphism or zoomorphism. Anthropomorphism is the idea that you should make a human being into God and worship him. Zoomorphism is the idea that you should make an animal into God and worship that animal. In today's world, people actually, they do actually Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam and all about so many things, man. Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, Mickey Mouse, all kinds of things. They create their own characters and they do. There's so much of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Mother Sevanam also sometimes. It's just amazing, how much people can do when they're in Tamoguna. At least in Rajaguna, they worship real Devata. But Narayana, okay, Iha Devata denotes the powerful man or demigod of this material world. Iha means here, meaning this material world. Whereas Narayana does not belong to this world. However, foolish people, Kritagyana, we will come across this expression, Kritagyana, later on, worship the demigods because they want immediate results. They get the results, but do not know that the results obtained are temporary and are meant for less intelligent persons. The intelligent person is in Krishna consciousness. He has no need to worship the paltry demigods, petty or insignificant demigods for some immediate temporary benefit. The demigods of this material world, as well as their worshippers, will vanish with the annihilation of this material world. The boons of the demigods are material and temporary. Both the material worlds and their inhabitants, including the demigods and their worshippers, are bubbles in the cosmic ocean. But human beings don't utilize their intelligence discrimination, so they don't care. They are all after sense enjoyment. And to get a little facility for sense enjoyment, they are attracted to worshipping empowered living entities known as demigods. This verse indicates that people are rarely interested in Krishna consciousness. They are mostly interested in material enjoyment, and therefore they worship some powerful living entity. So as soon as one surrenders into Krishna's lotus feet, surrender begins with the second stage, Pradhanibhuta Bhakti, maximal Bhakti. As soon as one surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, then immediately he understands that what is this? Why I should be over-respecting these demigods? I should just give them sufficient respect. I don't need to depend on them. Why I need to become a demigod? Why I need to go through this gradual path? Just surrender unto the Supreme Lord and he immediately helps me get out of it. Text 13.
Even if someone is worshipping Lord Vishnu with the intention of getting material gains, so is karma kand?
No. The activities. There's a misconception within ISKCON that it is the consciousness that determines the difference between karma, jnana, bhakti. That is wrong. The activity is already desired. Ravanam Vishnu, Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Vishnu, Adasevanam Vishnu, Artanam Vishnu, Vandanam Vishnu, Sakhyam Vishnu. So that word Vishnu comes now. That is meant to be connected to everything. That is what is known as devotional service. Devotional service is already defined. I will also show another place where what Bhagavata Dharma or Bhakti is. Bhakti is already defined. It is not that just because Krishna tells you to do something, automatically it becomes Bhakti. Or even when a pure Vaishnava tells you to do something which is not Bhakti, it is still not pure Bhakti. It is not even Bhakti. Bhakti refers to a particular set of activities which are directly connected with the Supreme Lord.
But he is not looking for liberation.
Doesn't matter. He is engaged in the right activity for the wrong reason.
Okay.
Eleven point 2.34 Srimad Bhagavatam. Ye vai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Syatmalabdha ye Anja Punsam Avidushtam Vidhi Bhagavatam Hitam. This is a definition of Bhagavata Dharma. First of all, explain it. No, those means for realizing the Supreme Soul, those means for easily realizing the Supreme Soul by persons who are less intelligent, which are spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be Bhagavata Dharma. So, in Bhagavata Dharma, the very method is designed for realizing the Supreme Personality of God. Now, you may not be interested in that. That's a different thing, but it is designed for that reason. It's given for that purpose. And they are spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what is known as Bhagavata Dharma. That is Bhakti. Even ignorant living entities can very easily come to know the Supreme Lord if they adopt those means prescribed by the Supreme Lord himself. The process recommended by the Lord is to be known as Bhagavata Dharma or devotion service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these directly involve the Supreme Lord. Ravanam Vishnu, Kirtanam Vishnu. Like there is in Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami gives the example of one bird. He just flew around Vishnu temple's Gopuram. and it attains liberation. Because that activity, it's that activity of doing something which is naturally pleasing to the Supreme Lord and it is naturally connected to the Supreme Lord. That is what is called Bhagavad Bhakti. The activity itself should be pleasing to the Supreme Lord. Now this karma and all, when we execute this karma in order to attain liberation, in submission to Krishna, only then it is pleasing to Krishna. The activity of liberation, if it is executed with the desire to attain love of Godhead, with submission to Krishna, only then it is pleasing to Krishna. But the activity of bhakti itself is pleasing to Krishna. You engage in Shravanam Vishnu, it is pleasing to Vishnu. Kirtanam Vishnu is pleasing to Vishnu. That very activity is pleasing. So it is naturally pleasing to the Supreme Lord. And it is naturally connected with the Supreme Lord's name, form, qualities, pastime. Whereas the activities of karma is also what? I am taking care of my wife, taking care of my wife, children, my body, my father, mother. Where does Krishna come into the picture immediately? I have to mix it with Krishna consciousness. Whereas in bhakti, the very activity is pleasing to Krishna and it is directly connected to Krishna. So those activities are called bhakti. So somehow or other the person is engaging in it. If he engages in bhakti in a tivra manner, tivra means like stage 3 type. Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj wants to attain a kingdom bigger than Brahma's kingdom. It is not even possible. How can you attain a kingdom bigger than Brahma's kingdom inside Brahma's kingdom? But he wants it. The child, he wants it. Kshatriya wants it. He wants what he wants, that's all. And Narada Muni teaches him, he actually teaches him just smaranam. Chant this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, teaches him also archana, deity worship. He chants. That's what he does. He's doing one or more items of Navadha Bhakti. That is all he's doing. But he's doing of the Tivra type. Because he did of the Tivra type, then very quickly he attains the mercy of Narada Muni. Also, he did it under the guidance of Narada Muni. That's another thing. Narada Muni always desires that his disciples take to pure devotional service. Because not only externally I may be doing this, but internally what am I desiring? So Dhruva Maharaj came to the point very rapidly. So if one surrenders unto the Supreme Lord and executes this kind of bhakti, third type of bhakti, third stage bhakti, Kevala bhakti, exclusive bhakti, then he can attain the highest perfection even within one lifetime. Whereas this person is going to take a long time, track one. This person is Nishkama, track one. That person might be Sakama even. Sakama Kevala Bhakti is vastly more powerful than Nishkama Karma. We will see all this. It will all come in the middle 6 chapters when we come to second stage, third stage of devotional service. Then we'll begin to see different ways it can be mixed up. There is something called Karma Mishra Bhakti Yoga. This what we are seeing here, this is actually Karma Yoga. Because Karma is predominant. Karma predominant, Karma Jnana Bhakti. But we will, in the middle 6 chapters, we will see Bhakti predominant, Karma Jnana Bhakti. So when we see Bhakti predominant, Karma Jnana Bhakti, then we will come to just exclusive bhakti. So we will begin to, Krishna will begin to talk about this. We'll see. Okay, so let's proceed. We completed text 12, text 13.
चतुर्वर्णमया सृष्टं गुणकर्म विभागसः तस्य कर्मारभौ मां विद्यया कर्तारम् अभयम्. According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the 4 divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable.
In 2 verses, the Lord speaks of the cause of destroying the desire for enjoyment, which is an obstacle to performance of Nishkama Karma. If one wants to proceed in track 1, Actually, even in track 2, track 3, one cannot have materialistic desires. At least one cannot have materialistic desires which obstruct one in the highest, in attainment of the highest goal. Those desires one cannot have. So, Lord Krishna speaks 2 verses, text 13 and text 14, to help one understand how one can get out of these material desires. So the Supreme Lord, he creates, maintains, and destroys the various varnas and so on. I create, maintain, and destroy everything in the material universe from Brahma to inanimate objects. Brahman is the source, maintenance, and destruction of everything. Know that though I am the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction, I am also not the cause, being separated from my action. This means that I am devoid of prejudice in all these actions. Prejudice, partiality. Though I am the creator, I do not deviate from impartiality in regard to the objects of my creation. Thus, the 4 varnas were created by me according to distinctions of quality and worth. In this world, there is no other doer than I. Thus, I and no one else is the maker of the varna dharma and all the varnas. But you should know me as the non-doer and indestructible, though I am known as the maker of the varna dharma. I made this varna dharma by my Maya Shakti because of the Jiva's karma. Actually, I, the Lord of the Chit Shakti, have no prejudice by creating the path of karma. The cause is the Jiva's karma or misuse of its quality of independence. In other words, Krishna has provided a whole facility and it is up to the living entity to rise or fall as he likes. So he provided this stratification, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all in terms of guna and karma. Notice this, Chaturvarnya Maya Srishtam, guna karma vibhagacha. There are only 2 factors, guna and karma, that determine one's varna. There is no janma here. Birth is not here. Now, strictly speaking, birth is one of the most powerful influences, material influences in our lives. So, if a person is to be presented as belonging to this varna or that varna, his birth, even though it is not meant to be considered, still we have to observe whether the person has become so transcendental that his guna karma is actually different from the guna karma at the time of his birth. Most of the people's guna karma are the same from the time of their birth, because it requires strenuous practice to get out. Let us say I was having the guna karma of Shudra, and then I'm supposed to become, I'm trying to make myself into a Vaishya by guna karma. It's quite difficult. It is one varna higher. It is quite difficult. It is quite difficult. Because Vaishyas, they take a lot of financial risks. Shudras, they just want security. This work for, in India, they think I work for government. I get my security. I get my monthly salary. Security. I don't need to worry. They won't even sign up for a private company. Okay. Typical Shudra mentality. It just need to be taken care of. That's all. Whereas Vaishya is not like that. Take big money loan and then make big money and then make loss. Yeah, life is full of profit and gain and loss, and life is full of variety. Come on. That is the Vaishya mentality. Kshatriya is even more. The person, we don't even know whether he'll live 1 year. Next time the military calls him, he may just die. Then Brahmana, of course, gives up the whole world. He's just somewhere he is. Now, what he's doing, he wants to spiritually serve humanity. There's no sense of, loving one's own family only. Things like that. So, as we go higher and higher, the guna karma becomes more and more demanding. Brahmanas are the ones who are situated in the mode of goodness. Kshatriyas, primarily in the mode of passion. There is some mixture. Kshatriyas do have some goodness. Vaishyas are also in passion, but they have some ignorance. Shudras primarily. Of course, this is those who are accepted Vedic authority. Then there are people below that, Panchama. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. The tendency of a particular man toward work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. We will see more about this later on. There is something higher than a Brahmana, and that is a pure Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different friendly expansions of Krishna, namely Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, etc. And as Krishna is transcendental to the system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider the divisions of community, nation, or species. Text 14.
Namam karmani vippanti nama karma phalesprabha iti mam yo vijanati karma virnasa gadyati. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work.
This verse elaborates the last. It elaborates the previous verse. These actions, such as creation, do not contaminate me with the fault of unfair dealings or desire, unlike the case of the jiva. This is because my acts of creation, maintenance, and destruction are in response to the karmas of the jiva in his body, not to my needs. In other words, Krishna is engaged in creation, maintenance, destruction of this world, not because he needs something. His whole world is only for us. I have no desire for results and actions such as the creation of the universe or creation of the bodies of the jivas. Thus, I am not contaminated by the acts of creation and destruction. He who acts with desire for results is contaminated by the results. I am full of bliss in my swarup, and I simply bestow what arises from the desires for enjoyment of the jivas project in Prakriti. As the efficient cause, I am like the rain, simply put into motion their actions decided by them. The Lord is only the efficient cause for creation of bodies of the jivas with mentality of men and devas. The causes of the variety in the mentalities of men and devatas are the powers of their previous actions. The Supreme Lord is the efficient cause in the creation of bodies or the living entities with various mentalities as men and devatas. What causes the great variety in the states of men and devatas are the powers arising from their old karmas. The author of Vedanta Sutra says, the Lord has no partiality or cruelty because the pleasure and pain suffered by the living beings is caused by their karma. So the scriptures declare. The result of knowing this is then stated. He who knows me in this way is not bound by previous karmas, which are the causes of his bodies and which create problems for his body. He becomes free from those karmas. So Krishna is transcendental, and when we realize that Krishna is transcendental, then we also become transcendental. That is the basic point. Krishna is only the nimitta, efficient cause. Efficient cause is a technical word in philosophy. There are different types of causes. Typical textbook example. Consider how a pot is made. You have a pot. Yes. Now, who or what is the cause of that pot? First of all, you need clay. Without clay, you cannot have the pot. So that clay is what is known as the ingredient of upadana karanam. Without the clay, you cannot have the pot. That is the basic ingredient. So the answer to that question, if you say, is clay. And clay is not enough. Clay is there all over the planet. But you don't see pots all over the planet by themselves coming up. So then you need potters. You need a person who carefully thinks how to take clay and mold it, make it into a pot. So that is known as nimitta karma, efficient cause. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is only the efficient cause as far as creation of this material world. Then you require, but suppose you have a potter, you have clay. Is that enough to make a pot? No, you require the potter's wheel. There's something called the device. There's a device called the potter's wheel, which the potter uses. You need clay, you need the potter's wheel, and you need the potter also. That is called sahakari karma, accessory cause. So, three causes are most important to understand. One is upadana karma, another is nimitta karma, another is sahakari karma. Ingredient cause, efficient cause, accessory cause. So the Supreme Lord is only the efficient cause. He is not anything more than that. Because of the Jiva's karma, I have made karma tattva, the system of karma. But it cannot contaminate me. I have no desire for results of karma. Since these results of karma are most insignificant for me, the Lord full of six opulences. The person who can understand my imperishable tattva while deliberating on my independence and the Jiva's path of karma is never bound by karma. Performing pure bhakti, he attains me. So when we talk about pure devotion service, we are also meant to have a pure understanding of Krishna. This is all part of pure understanding of Krishna. If we have impure understanding of Krishna, then it becomes an intellectual offense, like Mayavad, for instance. It's an offense. We keep hearing this Mayavadi, Krishna, Aparati. What offense they are doing? Are they actually taking a stone and beating? Are they what they are doing? In their thought, they are committing a crime. It's a thought crime. There's something called a thought crime in Vedic civilization.
They also keep Krishna's deities, their ashram, very difficult to understand.
Right? It's not at all difficult to understand. Very easy to understand. A woman takes care of her husband very nicely, but just that she also wants to take care of her other customers. She's a prostitute. So then it's a problem. So it is not enough just that they worship Krishna. They worship Krishna. They worship everyone. They worship themselves also, and they think that we are all one. So it is not by external activity that you determine what is what. You also have to always consider what is there in their head, what they are thinking. That also determines purity. There is purity in thought, there is purity in speech, there is purity in activity. I am Anavaki. So they are committing errors in their thought process. Very serious errors. In fact, they are punished even more. Punished even more. They are sent to the hellish world. Wait. Let me get. See, Krishna is like the proprietor of an establishment. The proprietor of an establishment is not responsible for the right and wrong activities of the workers, but the workers are themselves responsible. The living entities are engaged in their respective activities of sense gratification, and these activities are not ordained by the Lord. Means the Lord is not ordering them to do this. For advancement of sense gratification, the living entities are engaged in the work of this world, and they aspire to heavenly happiness after death. These are the pious materialists. The Lord, being full in himself, has no attraction for so-called heavenly happiness. The heavenly demigods are only his engaged servants. The proprietor never desires the low-grade happiness such as the workers may desire. He is aloof from the material actions and reactions. For example, the rains are not responsible for different types of vegetation that appear on the earth, although without such rains, there is no possibility of vegetative growth. It is raining now, but because of the rain, you cannot say that this side is more green, that side is less green and all that. Or here, cabbage is growing, there potato is growing, it's all because of the rain. The rain did not decide that, okay, here, cabbage should be planted and that potato should be planted. Somebody else is planting different things and getting it up. But everybody is taking advantage of the rain. So, Krishna's arrangement is only the background. Therefore, he is said to be the efficient cause. The created beings are of many varieties, such as the demigods, human beings, and lower animals, and all of them are subject to the reactions of their past good or bad activities. The Lord only gives them the proper facilities for such activities and the regulations of the modes of nature, but he is never responsible for their past and present activities. The Lord is never partial to any living entity. The living entity is responsible for his own acts. The Lord only gives him facilities through the agency of material nature, the external energy. Anyone who is fully conversant with all the intricacies of this law of karma or fruitive activities does not become affected by the results of his activity. In other words, the person who understands this transcendental nature of the Lord is an experienced man in Krishna consciousness. Thus, he is never subjected to the laws of karma. One who does not know the transcendental nature of the Lord and who thinks that the activities of the Lord are aimed at fruitive results, as are the activities of the ordinary living entities, certainly becomes entangled himself in fruitive reactions. So Krishna, he does different things. He gets married, he serves his mother, he serves his father, he fulfills various family obligations. But that is not with the desire to attain the heavenly facilities in next life and so. That is not the idea. Okay, what is the question?
So, even like I want to take my friends in their mind. Like thinking, like, so in Kalyuga, we have heard, like, if they are done in mental level, also if they are thinking in mental level, they will act like that. But theoretically, only if they just think that Mayavadi thinking. Will there be offenses? Because they are in Kalyuga now.
It will, in see, with previous yugas, actually, if you open Manasamhita, it talks about karma vipaka, how one's karmic reactions mature. So there are punishments for offenses or sinful activities committed in thinking, or through speech, or through activity. Only in Kali Yuga that is not there. That is an advantage in Kali Yuga. But there is a disadvantage in Kali Yuga also. Kali Yuga, whatever they think, immediately do. Previous Yuga, they may think something, but they don't immediately do. But in Kali Yuga, we think something, we do it immediately. Immediately it will manifest in the form of speech or some kind of communication. It will also come out in the form of some activity. So, as of now, I have not come across any bona fide Mayavadi who only thinks and doesn't communicate it. They want to actually save the world. They want to save the world from all these nasty vitamins, all these things. We are simply unnecessarily creating more obstacles for the spread of the awareness that we are all actually God. It's the saving knowledge to save everyone when you realize that. And there are different varieties of Mayavadis, different types of mind. They are very confused about. We will come across this when we come to 16th chapter when Krishna analyzes the demoniac. So then Krishna will mention Mayavadi. No, they think, but they also act. They also communicate it out. How it became a vachik. That's karma. Voice. Voice is not just voice, it's communication. You're communicating. Okay, text 15.
किं कर्म किमकर्मेति sorry. एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वरात्रिं मोक्षभिः पूर्वकर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं पूर्वतरं कृतम्. All deliberate souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty, following in their footsteps.
Those desiring liberation in ancient times, understanding this tattva, truth, while giving up sakama karma, perform nishkama karma offered to me. You also should take shelter of the eternal nishkama karma yoga as performed by the previous great devotees like Vidvan, Janaka, Vidvan and Janaka. There are two classes of men. Some of them are full of polluted material things within their hearts, and some of them are materially free. Krishna consciousness is equally beneficial for both of these persons. Those who are full of dirty things can take to the line of Krishna consciousness for a gradual cleansing process, following the regulative principles of devotional service. Those who are already cleansed of the impurities may continue to act in the same Krishna consciousness so that the others may follow their exemplary activities and thereby be benefited. So here, when he's talking of Krishna consciousness, he's actually talking of carrying out one's spiritual duties with one's material duties. This way you can come up, or you can come up this. So even if you are very spiritual, you can still execute Krishna consciousness with your material duties. Prabhupada talks about that. Foolish persons or neophytes in Krishna consciousness often want to retire from activities without having knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Arjuna's desire to retire from activities on the battlefield was not approved by the Lord. One need only know how to act. To retire from the activities of Krishna consciousness and to sit aloof making a show of Krishna consciousness was less important than actually engaging in the field of activities for the sake of Krishna. So just as Vidvan or Janaka, they all attained, previously they were hankering, and if you see text 15, along with text 10, then we understand that not only they were previously hankering for liberation, they actually attained liberation. So gradually they worked through it. If you are going in a lift, you're going fast. Somebody else is climbing through stairs. You may be going in a lift, but the person going through the stairs, he may be 2 floors ahead of you. That possibility is also there. Because he started earlier. Might have started earlier. So, but he started earlier. Whereas we just, new kids in an old block, we just came into the scene. And we're talking maybe things were going fast, but he's already 2 floors ahead of us. That possibility is also there. So they may be going through track 1 or track 2. But they have also attained liberation. All such students of Lord Krishna are mentioned here as past liberated persons engaged in the discharge of duties allotted by Krishna. Text 16.
Shastri karma pravakshami yajyatva mokshasте asubhat. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all sin.
Is there some doubt about karma, since you speak with great insistence about acting as previous persons did according to their predecessors? So this is a thought that is in Arjuna's mind. Why are you saying that you must perform these material duties the way it was executed by the Lord? This is material duty. It is a woman need to do Sri Dharma, man need to do the Varna Dharma, should do man. So no, it's not like that. You have to execute it in a particular manner. If you don't execute it in a particular manner, you cannot attain the highest goal. So therefore, Krishna speaks a series of verses from this text 16. Certainly there is. What type of action should be performed by those desiring liberation? What is the jnana, the opposite of action, included in the actions which they perform? Even those who are wise have become bewildered about this because they are unable to discern the truth about it. I, controlling everything, knowing everything, will speak to you about karma and akarma. Akarma here means that which is different from or opposite to action. Syllable. Okay. I will speak to you about karma and akarma, not just about karma. Knowing, practicing, and realizing this, you will be liberated from samsara, material existence. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Even the wise are bewildered in determining what is karma and what is akarma. I will teach you this something. Understanding it, you will attain liberation from everything inauspicious. Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with the examples of previous bona fide devotees. This is recommended in the 15th verse. Why such action should not be independent will be explained in the text to follow. So even to execute something as simple as our material duty, we have to see how the predecessors did it and attained the highest result. It is always important to consider whether they attained the result. Yesterday only I was reading. There was one sannyasi during Prabhupada's time, one of his disciples. I think it was in Australia. The disciple of Prabhupada, he had given up sannyas and given up different things, but he was continuing to chant. So when he met Prabhupada, so then Prabhupada explained that, told one story. Then he explained in conclusion, that when you cook, it is not enough just to have some food, some fire. It's not enough just to have some rice in a pot and have fire below it. There's a method for it. Suppose you have fire here and the food up in the roof, then there's too much of distance. So there won't be any event. So he said, simply, just chanting Hare Krishna will not work. There's a whole method, there's a process. Previously, they have followed the process and attained the result. There are many, many do's and don'ts involved. If you don't put it all together, then the result is not attained. That result is very, very important. Everything in Vedic culture is result oriented. So whenever Bhagavad Gita or other scriptures you hear that you should not be interested in the result, it means you should not be interested in the inferior result. But you must be interested in the superior result. Otherwise what? Without result, there is no meaning to any pursuit. Pursuit means it's result oriented. So for attaining the result, it is very important to consider forget the exact expression right now. You have to consider how it was previously executed and how previously the results were attained. Because instead of experimenting a new method by which you can attain the result, just follow the standard method. Again, they followed that. Again, they have attained the result to the same degree that they want. So, while talking about these material duties, what is the consciousness with which you do it? There are several factors. You have to consider at what point do you move from stage 1 to stage 2. There are different things involved. There are a lot of meticulous details involved. For all that, you have to consider how in the past they attained the ultimate result. So that's what Prabhupada is pointing out. Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with the examples of previous bona fide devotees. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in a disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this chapter. One has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. Otherwise, even the most intelligent men will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. One must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahlad, Bhishma, Shukadeva Goswami, Yamaraj, Janaka, and Bali Maharaj. 12 authorities. So, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami is very kind. He has given us information of 12 authorities. So you can examine 12 of them, how they have executed and attained the results. Not 1 or 2 examples. 12 examples are given. So we can always keep checking. Like for instance, some simple topic. Okay, is the Mayavada as bad as we think it is, or not? Does it actually prevent you from attaining Krishna Prema? Then examine 12 authorities. You can see in their own lives how they attain the highest goal. How do they deal with this? Were they of Mayavadis, partial Mayavadis? Anything. You can examine. You can examine each of these personalities. You can, because a lot of information is there in the Vedic scriptures about each and every one of these. So you can analyze and you can see for yourself. That is how we understand. So everything has to be understood scientifically in this manner. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain what is religion or self-realization. Therefore, out of causeless mercy to his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is and what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. 17.
कर्मणो बोधव्यम सभी कर्मणः अकर्मणस्य बोधव्यम गहना कर्मणो गतिः. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
But even the wise have become bewildered about it, as you said in the previous verse. So how can I understand? You should understand the real nature of Nishkama Karma, which is to be performed by those desiring liberation. You should understand the real nature of Kami Karma, which is contrary to Jnana. You should also know Jnana means spiritual realization, spiritual understanding, which can become spiritual realization and which can push you towards liberation. That is called jnana. Commonly in India, they use the word jnana like this. Like if you talk very philosophically, your mother will come and say, "You become a big jnani." You're talking to big jnana. So jnana is not just theoretical knowledge; it's realized philosophical knowledge of the position of the soul in regards to the big picture. You know, we reincarnate. When you zoom out and you see the big picture, that is all what is referred to as jnana. Bodhavya means you should try to discern the true nature of these topics in the association of those who know the nature of these. It is hard to understand the workings of karma and akarma. Akarma here means philosophical knowledge. Therefore, even the wise are bewildered. Bhakti, one should understand the workings of karma, vikarma, and akarma, analyzing them each separately. The deep truth about karma is difficult to understand. Obligatory conduct is called karma. This is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Forbidden conduct is called vikarma, giving an unfortunate destination. Kamya karma is included in it. For one who is seeking liberation, kamya karma is as bad as vikarma. Just like for a sannyasi to say, to think, I will marry. I'll marry only one woman. And I'll take care of her whole life. Still wrong. For a sannyasi to think like that is wrong. For a non-sannyasi to think like that may be okay. But for a sannyasi to think like that is wrong. So, even though that activity of marrying a single lady who is marriageable and taking care of her for whole life, that is a pious activity. But for one who is a higher transcendentalist, even that pious activity is sinful activity. So kamya karma is included in it. Not performing karmas is akarma. Another meaning of the word akarma. To not perform karma. By not performing karmas, how can the sannyasi attain auspiciousness? You should know this truth. By not performing karmas, how can the sannyasi attain auspiciousness? How is one at fault in being qualified for karma? One should know these things. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. See here, action, karma, inaction, akarma, unauthorized action, vikarma. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and then consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad Gita is directed towards this conclusion. Any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarmas or prohibited actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. The reason why Prabhupada brings up this, the most intelligent persons will be bewildered, is because earlier on, he said, text 16, even the intelligent are bewildered. So even the intelligent are bewildered. When they are bewildered, when you don't follow the parampara, and you try to understand it, then you are bewildered. If you follow the parampara, it's not a complicated matter. Text 18.
Karmanya karmaya pashet karmani cha karmaya sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta kritsna karma krit. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities.
This verse speaks of the real natures of karma and akarma, which are to be understood. He who sees inaction or atmajnana, self-knowledge, in the actions of nishkama karma being performed, because the actions are undertaken to reach karma, they are undertaken to reach a point where you don't have to continuously do it. right now, I may be engaged in material physical activity. Why am I doing it? I'm doing this so that eventually I don't need to do it. So currently I am engaged in activity, but I am doing it so that at some point I will come to the point of inactivity. Activity always means material activity. Spiritual activity is always there that you cannot avoid. But right now I'm engaged in material activity in the form of material use. But at a certain point, I want to come to the point where I will become materially inactive. So from action, I am trying to reach the point of inaction. And since action in Atmajnana is wise. What has been said is explained as follows. The desirer of liberation who sees action undertaken for purification of the heart as a form of jnana. Since it aims at jnana, inaction in action, the result is in the cause. And who sees jnana as a form of action because action is the means to jnana. Action in inaction, the cause is the result, is intelligent. In other words, he who knows that karma and jnana are one, because the goal is one, and thus seeks out the truth about Atma, through his actions being performed, is intelligent or learned among men. Later it will be said, only the ignorant speak of karma yoga as being different from jnana. This person qualified for liberation. This person is qualified for liberation. He has performed all actions because all the results of action are included in the happiness of Atma Jnana. If you look at this list of 30 qualities which are given, you have 21 plus 9, and then you have various government duties, national duties, and for women there are 3 duties, womanly duties they have. Now, if I think these activities of Jnana, these 21 duties, they seem very spiritual, very, very useful, spiritually very attractive to me. Why should I be engaging in all these nasty government duties, why will I be engaging in ceremonial duties and so on? Why they cannot just give it up? That will lead to spiritual realization. It will lead to freedom from lust, anger, greed. At that time, you will be able to execute this nicely. Otherwise, right now, if you try to execute this, it will be very, very difficult. Those who are filled with excessive lust, anger, greed, they will not be able to execute sattvic activities. Even with transcendental activities, they will complain. Okay. 18. He who sees inaction in action, and action in inaction is intelligent among men. He is clever, performs all actions. Purport is that all the karmas performed by the Nishkama Karma Yogi are akarma, a form of renouncing karma. And renouncing karmas, akarma, is his performance of Nishkama Karma. Thus, though he performs all karma, he is not a karmi. The purport is that all the karmas performed by the Nishkama Karma Yogi give attainment of the real Atma. He sees all karmas to be a form of akarma. Akarma and karma take one form. Prabhupada. I want someone to read out Prabhupada's purport.
Person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bonds of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna. Therefore, he does not enjoy or suffer any of the effects of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he is engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. Akarma means without reaction to work. The impersonalist ceases fruity activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. But the personalist knows rightly his position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Because everything is done for Krishna, he enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of his service. Those who are engaged in this process are known to be without desires for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements work.
So, because they want to attain the highest goal. They want to attain the highest goal. So they are not thought of like sinful materialists or sinless materialists. Sinful materialists, sinless materialists, they will again and again and again, they'll stuck on the human platform. Again and again and again, they'll come back. Whereas these people, they're actually progressing towards liberation. Because they want it slowly, Krishna has a facility to progress slowly. But they have this basic sense that I'm an eternal servant of Lord Vishnu. I'm a living entity. Lord Vishnu is the supreme being. I'm meant to get out of this material world. Understanding my position, the Supreme Lord very kindly has made a pathway arranged for us. I will go through that. I will not get stuck here. I will not be here. So therefore, they are said to be not actually like the materialists, engaged in material activity. Okay, we'll stop with that. And we'll resume at 9:45. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare.